Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And on the table helping them today, I have the Knights Templar Tarot. And I thought this would be a really good deck for today's reading because I think the guy involved in this reading saw himself as a bit of a knight in shining armor. He didn't turn out to be, but I think that was his plan. He was going to rescue this damsel. We are talking about the marriage of Joe DiMaggio with Marilyn Monroe. This is the second in this group of readings I'm doing about the three husbands. If you haven't seen the first one, it was listed a few days ago, and that was on the marriage of Marilyn to James Doherty. So we are on marriage number 2, Joe DiMaggio, and I'd like to just point out that this reading is only from Joe's perspective. So Marilyn will obviously feature in this strongly, but this is all from Joe's perspective about the marriage. So I think I will pull, first of all, a Celtic cross on this one, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Celtic cross. A little bit of background. Joe met Marilyn in 1952, and they got married in 1954. The marriage only lasted for 9 months, and it was very turbulent marriage. Just a 9-month marriage. And we're just going to see what Joe says about it all. So we're going from 1954, the actual marriage of Joe DiMaggio to Marilyn Monroe. So let's just pull the Celtic cross and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're just going to talk about the marriage itself, and then we're going to elaborate more on these cards, all from Joe's perspective. So let's go to the very heart of the matter, getting married in 1954. Well, here we have the nostalgia card. This is from Joe's point of view. 6 of Cups. This is very much thinking about your childhood, all the good things that have happened in your life, and sort of taking them forward with you. I think that he thought that this marriage with Marilyn Monroe, this would be a time for him to recreate his childhood, for him and her to have children of their own, and for it to be an idealized. This is the trouble with the 6 of Cups. It's very much rose tinted. And I think that he probably, I don't know, but from this, I'm thinking that he had a pretty good childhood. I wouldn't have thought he had much money, but I think it was, you know, a childhood that either he wanted to recreate or he wanted to create a family and a childhood for his children that he was going to have with Marilyn that would be like the perfect family, the perfect childhood for his children. She would be the perfect wife. I don't know quite what was going to happen to her movie career. I don't think that had really been addressed very much, but, you know, she was going to be your typical wife, very much the mother, the homemaker, and they were going to have these wonderful children together. So I think he went into it very rose-tinted spectacles. That's what I'm going to say. When he got married to her, he was so in love with her that he hadn't taken off these rose-tinted spectacles, and he was thinking of nostalgic, wonderful things that were going to be projected into the future. Okay, and then we have crossing that, the 9 of Pentacles. The 9 of Pentacles is, they were both self-made people. Joe DiMaggio, he is the world's greatest known baseball player. Or what was it, baseball? Sorry, forgive me, whatever it was. He was one of those anyway. He was the world's best known, and she was the world's best known actress. So, you know, it was like bringing together Mr. and Mrs. America. They were both standing in their gardens. They both grown their own pentacle trees. You know, very solid, great people who had so much in common, supposedly, because they stood in their own wealth, and they were evenly matched like that. They were adored. So yeah, a sort of meeting of these two nines of pentacles. And nines of pentacles, as I say, are self-made people, pulled themselves up from their bootstraps and stood in their own strength. So this is what he's thinking. Yeah, okay. So in the head, in sort of the top of all this, we've got the Knight of Wands. Now, he was the Knight of Wands. He absolutely adored her. Wands, the phallic symbol, the passion that he had for this woman, but we're inverted. Now, this is an unstable male energy. Now, this is what was in the head of this all the time. This, I see the Knight of Wands as being the jealousy. You love someone so much that your passion sort of consumes you with jealousy, with rage. These are all the fire elements, aren't they? Jealousy, rage, torturing yourself. This fire upside down, this wand upside down. So in the head of their marriage, these 9 months, was this man who was so consumed by the fire of his passion for her that it basically turned him on his head. He was upside down. And this passion that could have been so fruitful and so supportive turned into rage and anger and jealousy. So that was always at the top of it. And so then you have what's underneath everything. What's underneath everything? There's that one, so you can see it a little bit clearer. There's that wands energy, which, you know, very destructive. And then at the bottom of this, we have the Ten of Swords, which, well, it sort of balances that, doesn't it? The Ten of Swords is feeling like you've been stabbed in the back. Now, whether you have or not, very often you have. But if you imagine that through your jealousy, you're imagining your wife having affairs, you're imagining your wife up to no good with other people, you're stabbing yourself in the back, you're destroying yourself with these thoughts. And if you think of wands as being thoughts and, you know, things going on in your head, he's imagining all sorts through his jealousy, which is always in his head. So underneath, you have this man who feels that he's been attacked by these lovers, Hollywood itself, you know, all these things that are taking his wife away from him in his head, and these imaginary daggers. So Joe DiMaggio is a very tortured soul here, tortured because he loves this woman so much. And there we have the Five of Wands, that battling energy. He's fighting everyone. He's fighting Hollywood. Hated Hollywood. He just said, you know, and I could just feel it, just hated the Hollywood machine, had no time for the film industry, hated the paparazzi, such as they were back then, hated the people involved in the industry, hated the fans. He wanted his woman to himself. He wanted this Six of Cups, this nostalgia. He wanted a wife, a mother to his children. He wanted the traditional homemaker. He saw that nurturing side of Marilyn, and that's what he wanted. But his jealousy over the attention that she got was eating him away, and he was imagining all these terrible scenarios, which was stabbing him unnecessarily. And he was fighting the whole Hollywood system, hated it, absolutely detested it. So then as you're moving forward, the Three of Pentacles, you know, this is working together. Three of Pentacles. And, you know, in an ideal world, you'd say, well, you know, Joe DiMaggio and his side of work and life, her side of work and life with the movies, and, you know, everything that they did, it all sort of gelled together. They managed to all work harmoniously. Well, they couldn't. They couldn't work together because there was so much jealousy, envy, bitterness that, you know, there was no coming together of their worlds. They were from separate worlds, and there was just no joining them together. This is like, you know, the three energies here joined together in like a trinity, I suppose, but they couldn't make their worlds collide and join together in a harmonious way. So we've got the Three of Pentacles in reverse, not working together at any level. So much conflict here. Remember, this marriage only lasted 9 months, and from these cards, I can well see why. You know, let's get down here. Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Now, Ace of Pentacles. This is your new start. You plant your pentacle and it grows into a lovely pentacle tree, and you know it's earthed and it's wonderful. You root something new and it's exciting, and things blossom from this investment, this pentacle. This is the love that you put into something. But this pentacle couldn't root. There couldn't be a new beginning because there was no trust. There was no trust, there was jealousy, there was fighting, there was no working together. Oh, so how can you plant a pentacle and have it grow into a nurturing tree when you're watering it with envy and jealousy and pride and all the things that would kill a pentacle tree, basically? So yeah, it just wasn't rooted. This relationship was not rooted. And then we have the Four of Pentacles. This is, I mean, this is your greedy miser card, but I don't see it as that. I don't see it as money. You know, they both had more money than they knew what to do with. They were both very comfortably off. So it's not being guarded over your money, but this is very much holding Marilyn to him. He wanted to have her as his. So if you think of the greedy miser with his coins, holding them to his chest, like locking them in a casket here, he was trying to lock Marilyn into him. He was trying to hold her so close to him that it was smothering her. And like the greedy miser, keep away from my money, keep away from my wife. You know, I'm not letting my money go. I'm not letting my wife go. This was the kind of energy, and this a very, very destructive way of being, especially for Marilyn, who was such a free spirit, really. And you know, she needed to be able to express herself, and he wanted her as the wife, the potential mother, his property, not other people's in any way. And well, this is like the universe, what the universe said. Four of Swords. Well, this will not rise up and be fruitful. This will basically die on the vine. The Four of Swords is, if you look at it in its bleak, it is a death card. It's also that recovery and that deeply wounded, getting your second wind. But I see this as the death of a relationship, you know. Four of Swords. How can you have this energy? You know, how can Joe be so jealous of everything, so controlling, this man who's so controlling, fighting Hollywood, believing that Marilyn's having affairs and running around on him? How can you have all that and have a relationship that blooms? Of course it doesn't. The pentacle tree dies because it's being watered with poison. He's trying to hold her so close to him, greediness with his want for her, that yes, the relationship dies. And I very much see that as the Four of Swords. In those 9 months, you think it takes 9 months to gestate a baby. And, you know, that's what he wanted. He wanted children. He wanted a family. And yet, instead of in 9 months creating this wonderful birth of a pentacle and pentacle trees, children, he created such a poisonous situation that his relationship, instead of giving birth and growing and blossoming, it died. It's so sad, this. And then we have the Five of Cups, and there we have Joe. He's lamenting over what he's lost. His controlling attitude drove her away, which is ironic because he did everything that he could. This Knight of Wands in reverse, he did everything he could to hold on to her, would have put her in a box and carried her around with him. He was so possessive over her, and yet his passion and his possession over her ultimately led to her leaving him. And this Five of Cups is very much him looking at what he's lost. If he had been a different man, approached this marriage in a different way, it would have had a very different outcome. So I want to go right into the center because, you know, they were only married for 9 months. But I think rather than going to the center, I'm just going to ask a few questions. Let's do that. I want to know, very soon after she divorced Joe, she went on and she married Arthur Miller. Now, I'm going to do a separate reading on Arthur Miller, so we're not going to talk about Arthur here. But after she'd been with Arthur Miller for a few years, not very long, and they divorced, she had a total breakdown. Now, this isn't about Marilyn, so I'm not going to pull cards on Marilyn's breakdown. But she put herself into an institution, basically, to recover after a mental breakdown, but the institution wouldn't let her out. So she called Joe, the person that she chose to call. They were divorced. She divorced Arthur Miller, and this is leading up towards her demise. But the person that she called when she couldn't get out of that institution was Joe DiMaggio, and I want to know Joe's thoughts on that. They're no longer married, but Marilyn calls him. Seven of Pentacles, there you are. He goes to work. He goes to work. He goes to that institution. He says, release my wife. Still calls her his wife. Seven of Pentacles is, I will break your door down with my scythe here. I will get in. I will turn this place upside down until I find her or you release her, one or the other. Seven of Pentacles is, you are going to put in the grunt work and you're going to get a result. And that's exactly what he did. And God bless him for that, because he got her released and into his care, basically. And he set her up in a little place, a little home that she had up until she died. But this woman was now drinking so much and she was on drugs. But I just want to know these final years or final months, really, how Joe was. How was Joe in these final years? He got Marilyn out of this institution. He'd set her up in a home and they were sort of seeing each other. He was helping her. Seven of Swords. Yeah, he was like her protector. The Seven of Swords. You have the upper hand. The perspective on this one is usually this figure in the Seven of Swords is elevated and looking down on people and holding their Seven of Swords, not Seven of Wands. Okay, Seven of Swords. This is sort of barriering. So exactly the same kind of thing. You know, you've got something here, but in a way you've kind of stolen it. And in a way he had stolen Marilyn. The Seven of Swords, what he's done is she's so vulnerable that he's managed to get his way back into her life through the back door, if you like. He's making himself a pillar of strength to her, but it's not it's not the right way of doing it. This is a little bit of a sneaky card here, the Seven of Swords. Sorry, when I pulled it, I was thinking Seven of Wands, but Seven of Swords is very much kind of a sneaky card. It's like you get what you want, but you've had to go about it in a kind of duplicitous way. And I think this is what happened. She was very, very vulnerable. So, you know, he was very much her rock and she was leaning on him and he liked that. But was that really the best way of getting that sort of togetherness with her? Probably not, because she was quite unstable at that time. So, you know, you're getting something from someone that really you should not have got in that way. That's the way that I will put that. And then, you know, various things happen, and we lead up to the terrible event where, you know, Marilyn is found dead. I'm not talking about Marilyn here, so we're not talking about the whys or wherefores, but I want to know Joe's reaction to her being found dead, him being told. Eight of Swords. Okay. This is very much, you feel in your head, oh, just you cannot imagine life going on, really. And I think that's the impression that I'm getting from this. That isn't the typical meaning of it, but you can't see a way forward without this woman that he was so passionate about. You know, he just couldn't, it was like a prison around him. And I think part of this prison was, I caused a lot of this situation by my jealousy, and by my, you know, almost oh, being so frantic about her sleeping with other people, being so frantic about thinking she was having affairs. So I think he had a lot of guilt here, and he made a kind of prison of that in his mind, what I should have, could have done. And how did he feel about the Hollywood machine? The whole Hollywood, the press. Seven of Wands. This is the Seven of Wands card now. This is, I have the higher ground here. You little people, keep away. He kept anyone famous, any sort of Hollywood people away from her at her death, you know. And this is him battling, like the studio, battling Hollywood, battling fans. He didn't want anyone from Hollywood around her at all. Again, it's going back to this miser card, this one here, wanting to keep her to himself even in death. So he was known for every year he would put flowers, roses on her grave, just every year. I'm not sure whether they were roses, but they were beautiful flowers that he put on her grave year after year after year. What was all that about, Joe? Putting those flowers on her grave long after she died. What was all that? The moon. I think this is regret. The moon is, you know, those thoughts underneath it all, that sort of opaque, that opaque water that hides so many deep feelings that you never quite know what the person's thinking. And I think with the moon here, there's so much lunacy and so much he thinks about how crazy he was over her. Lunacy, how crazy he was for her, and how his craziness for her made him the Knight of Wands in reverse. It made him unstable, it made him jealous, it made him fighting. He couldn't work together with the people around her. And this he regretted so much. And this moon energy, this is like the lunacy of it all. And I think he had so many regrets about the way he was. One final card, Joe, just one final card to sum this whole thing up. The Hierophant in reverse. I think Hierophant, this is very much sort of the Pope, the rules, the regulations. We do things in this way and we get this result, and, you know, fairness and honesty. And I think that he saw himself as the Hierophant in reverse. I think that he looked back and he thought that the way he handled things was wrong. The way that he dealt with situations was wrong. I think there's an awful lot of guilt in this Hierophant in reverse here. His morals weren't strong enough. You know, when they were on honeymoon, he was jealous because she sang to the troops and all this kind of thing. And jealousy. And the Hierophant, that should not be a jealousy card. It should be very much, you know, open, honest codes and ethics, and, you know, very sensible. He wasn't sensible about any of this in his emotions, and that's underneath the moon. So I think this was a man who was so in love with this woman that it let him absolutely, the love that he felt for her, it absolutely ruined him. It ruined their relationship, and love turned so toxic because he was so controlling. So that is a 9-month marriage of Joe DiMaggio to Marilyn Monroe, and all the regrets that he had, I would imagine, up until his dying day, of being so controlling, so so unbelievably. And I think this caused violence within the relationship, you know, this fighting energy. I'm sure that there were slaps and, you know, but it was all done through passion. Not that that makes it better, but he wasn't in his right mind. He was this whole relationship was the worst thing. It was never It was never this Six of Cups, this beautiful nostalgic way, you know, to start a relationship. It never ever was that. So let me know what you think about Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn. This was a very turbulent, very passionate, very violent affair, marriage, 9 months. That's what the cards tell me from Joe's point of view. So if you have anything to add or you know more about this, then please let me know. And anything that you can contribute will be, as always, very much appreciated. You take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.